And now here's our next episode of Cooking with Max Power. This is a two-part series, so anytime that we start referring to any type of reduction, you'll need to come back to this episode if you're not quite sure. I will post a recipe later. The recipe is actually what they call mirepoix. It's French, and it's basically celery, carrots, onion, a little bit of garlic, some butter, beef broth, cooking wine, and also some Cabernet Sauvignon. The process of this one takes about anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. So we are starting this at about 10:30 in the morning, and hopefully by around 6:30 when it's time to eat, we'll then be able to go ahead and do it. First thing we need to do, of course, is wash our vegetables. And we'll just give them a nice little rinse off here. And I've got four nice stalks. The only part of the stalk we're not going to use is going to be the white part of it. I'm going to wash our carrots. Onions don't particularly have to be washed. We don't have to really worry about that. So first what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dice up our carrots. When dicing our carrots, it's always best to use a really good culinary knife. And I've never had any technically training in any of this. It's just kind of learning how to do it. So we're going to go ahead and cut up our carrots. The carrot actually adds some of the sweetness to it. And I'll be honest with you, when I first learned how to make this, I thought it was a little bit crazy. But I followed the recipe completely and then started adding my own little things to it here and there. We don't need the very end of it. Of course, that's where the top of the root came from. And if you like it a little bit spicy, you can use either red, yellow, or green pepper in it. I particularly don't like that flavor in this type of sauce. If we were making a jerk chicken or jerk ribs and we wanted a nice tang to it, we would then use some peppers on it. So when it comes to the celery, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the ends. Pretty much where the white and the green come together. And from there we're going to do the same thing that we just did before. I'm going to go ahead and peel an onion. Take that top part of that skin off. And I usually use a medium onion. Didn't have medium onions today, so we're actually going to be using two different onions for this one. One kind of small, the other one just a little bit smaller than that one. And it also depends on what type of flavor that you like. Of course, cut off the end. Whew, got the tears coming down already. we've got all our vegetables chopped. Now we're going to go ahead and peel some garlic up. Get some nice pieces out of here. We will be cleaning the garlic once we start getting everything off of it here. I like to use my garlic peeler for this one. Just simply place your garlic inside, run it a couple times. All the junk that you don't want is pretty much already off of it. Go ahead and put that off to the side. As you can see, it comes out pretty quickly. All we got to do then is just cut the butts off of it. And about one more piece. Now that we've got the garlic peeled, go ahead and get our garlic skin. Go ahead and get rid of that because we don't really want to add it to everything that we've already cut up. And now from here we're just going to take the little end pieces off. And we're going to go ahead and dice this all up. And from here we want to go ahead and turn our pot on to about number 5 just to get it hot and going. Go ahead and mince up our garlic. All the flavors that we're putting together here is your traditional reduction, gravy, any type of sauce that you want to put over anything. It all depends on your liking of it. Kind of nice and diced up. And at this point now, we'll go ahead and get all of our vegetables together. And we're going to go ahead and start just cutting them all up into little smaller pieces. Eventually it's going to get pressed through our chinois. And we'll show you the chinois here in just a little bit. So really the size of the vegetables are really no big deal because they are going to be getting cooked down completely. But to help the process, smaller pieces help out a whole lot better. And Gomez is getting a nice piece of carrot that fell on the floor. I hope he's enjoying that. Now we have a nice big pile of our vegetables. So now that the vegetables are all cooked up and our pan's ready to go, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil, and I like to use my little misto machine and put some oil in the bottom of the pan. And we're going to do what they call sweating the vegetables. So we're going to add it, and as you can hear, it's nice and sizzling there. Now currently we don't have any liquid in here. We don't want to liquefy it yet because we want the vegetables to start producing their natural juices in the pan. Now this looks like a lot. We do start out with a lot of liquid. But by the time we're done, this will be cooked down to about a cup, maybe a cup and a half. As we sweat the vegetables, you want to kind of turn them. Get that nice sear going inside of it. You can kind of see in the bottom here where we're starting to get a little bit of liquid coming up. Of course, some of that liquid is from the butter that we put into it, but it's also the moisture coming out of the vegetables, which is what the sweating process means. And as we continue cooking, you'll notice we've got a couple big chunks in here. And again, that's really no big deal because it's all going to go through the chinois at the end, which is going to compress everything down, which makes the flavors absolutely fabulous. It takes usually about 10 minutes to sweat these down. Once you start seeing more and more liquid at the bottom, that's when it's time we're going to go ahead and add our rest of our ingredients. So the sweating process is continuing. While we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and get some blackberries and get those ready. And this is where the sweet reduction comes into it. I'm using the blackberries in this case. A lot of times I'll use jelly if I shouldn't have fresh fruit or anything. You can also use frozen fruit, strawberries, peaches, raspberries, blackberries, or even a mixture of them all. And we're just going to kind of cut these up here a little bit. And you don't have to worry about the seeds because there's going to be some seeds in it. And from there we'll go ahead and add those into it. While we're still continuing to sweat. We're going to mix our vegetables up in with it. And you're going to start seeing the liquid get a little more different color to it. Let's see if I can get, see how the liquid is now forming at the bottom? That's from the sweat. Like I said, we're using our Swanson. This is the 40 or 50% less sodium. We've also got some of our California port wine. We're going to use our 2001 California Cabernet Sauvignon. Some crushed rosemary, basil, and some oregano. Once this is all done, at that point it's going to sit on the stove. We're going to bring it up to a boil, reduce the heat down to a simmer. We're going to put the top on it for a little bit so the vegetables can get cooked, and then we'll go to the next process. I went ahead and put the burner up a little bit higher at this point because as we start adding the liquid to it, it's going to cool down the vegetables kind of quickly, and we kind of want to keep some fire on it underneath it. This will keep the sweating process going. We're starting to accumulate a lot of liquid now in the bottom, which is absolutely fantastic when it comes to this. We're going to go ahead and add our beef broth. And in this case, we're going to use the whole container. Now you can use your own chicken stock or beef broth, depending on what you want to do. We can go ahead and add some of our Cabernet Sauvignon. We're going to add our California port. About a little bit of the crushed rosemary, maybe a little more. It depends on how you like the flavor of it. A couple shakes of the basil. A couple shakes of the oregano. And we will be adding salt to it later, but we want to taste it first before we start adding the salt. Go ahead and stir it all up together. And you should start smelling the aroma of not only of the port and the wine. The reduction now is really starting to accent with the celery, the carrots, and the onion along with the garlic. We need to go ahead and bring this up to a boil. Now Now if you had leftover bones from roast, a short rib, you could actually throw the bones in there as well. You can get the flavor from that. In this case we are using beef broth. Depends on which way you want to make it. This is kind of the easy way. There's more longer ways of making this. You can actually put all the vegetables on the bottom of a pan, put your roast on it in the oven 350 degrees for a couple hours. The juices from there, cook the vegetables, you cook that down, you can turn that into a reduction. This reduction can actually be frozen once it's done. Even though with the butter in it you will get a little kind of a coating over the top of it. That's no big deal. Into some Tupperware, stick it in the freezer, and you can defrost and reuse this pretty much any time that you want to. I've made lamb reduction, chicken reduction, pork reduction, beef reduction. This recipe actually started out from Royal Caribbean's Chopped Grill, where the executive chef on the Freedom of the Seas was kind enough to get me the recipe for it. And I've added a little bit here and took some of the stuff out that I particularly didn't like in it, giving it a nice absolute flavor. So we're going to let that come up to a boil, and then we're going to top it off. As it comes up to a boil, you want to continue stirring. There's a lot of heat on the bottom of this pan, or pot. In this case, my pots are Kirkland brand pots that have the copper bottom, which really holds a lot of heat in, which is absolutely wonderful. Now we're probably looking about, let's say about 6 or 7 cups of reduction right now. And as you see, you can see how the bubbles are coming up along with all the spices and stuff. That's one reason why we have to keep on stirring, or stirring, depending on how you like to pronounce it. And the smell coming off of this is absolutely just fantastic. A lot of times when you drive by restaurants and you smell that very unique smell, you're not quite sure what it is, chances are it's probably either roasted garlic or it's going to be a reduction of some sort. So the top on it now, our heat's down to number 1. If we open it up, it is still boiling. The fact is, because like I said, it's a copper bottom, and we are making more moisture as this is on. And about an hour from now, we're going to go ahead and remove the top, stir again, and then we're going to start the reduction, and then we'll go through the rest of the process from there. We'll come back in about an hour and show you how much it's reduced itself, and then we'll go ahead and start the second process from there. So it's about 20 minutes to 3 o'clock at this point, and we're going to go ahead and remove our reduction, and we're going to place it through a chinois. Now this is a chinois. It was an interesting story when I went to go buy it. I actually had to describe it as something Madonna might wear in a concert outfit, but only one. You can, however, in smaller batches, use a regular strainer. And you can also use that with either a soup spoon or a large spoon to mash the ingredients through. So we place our chinois in the pan or bowl. And I don't know how well you can see this. I had the top on it for a little bit. We've reduced about half at this point. Everything gets poured in. And I'm not going to give you the description of what this looks like. You can use your imagination. And we will be putting everything back into this pot again. Now this does take a little bit of time. This is the chinois press. We go in the center and we just start mashing it all around. You're going to get some that's going to fall out. That's no big deal because it will go through this again. As you can see, all the liquid coming from the bottom, which is all of our ingredients that we have been working with. And you can leave it in there and get more moisture in the bottom. It actually helps the vegetables to get completely ground down into a mush. Once you start going, you're going to get a nice roll out of this, and you just continue pressing. Until it almost looks like, well, I guess baby food. Because that's basically what we're going to turn this into. Now comes the noisy part. We're going to add a little bit of this liquid into our blender. And we're going to get most of that through here. Made a nice mess on the counter. Since I know the counter's clean, it's going to get cooked out anyway. That's ground up, kind of the consistency of a milkshake. We're going to go ahead and put that back in to our reduction easily so it does not splatter. I'm going to stir it up just a little bit so you can now kind of see the consistency of what we were making. This also makes a great soup. Add some stew beef into this and cook it down. You'd want more liquid, but we're going for the reduction of liquid, not the maximum of liquid. And we'll go ahead and pour it back into our pan. And now we've got just about 1/2 still. So we've been reducing now, it's about 4:30. We've been reducing now since, about 10:30 this morning when this all started. You can see the sediment that's coming across the side of the pot. And we are still continuously to stir. Like I said, 15-20 minutes. You want to keep stirring it and stirring it. You can start seeing the consistency now is starting to actually thicken almost into a gravy. So now we've been stirring for a bit. We're going to go ahead and run it through our chinois one more time. This is going to help break up the rest of the vegetable that's in it. And as you can see, it's still pretty thick, which is what we really want anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through with the chinois masher. And you don't have to go out and run out and buy one of these if you don't want to. The blender works the same. I just prefer using this because it really does break it down a lot better. And we are going to have a little leftover in it this time, which you can either put it back in or you can just simply leave it out. That part's absolutely no big deal. But you can see from all of our vegetables what it kind of consists into. And we'll just take that off on the side, squish it down a little bit more. Go ahead and remove this part. Go ahead and wipe off our sides. Now the only thing that we might still find in here are going to be the raspberry seeds. By using our spoon, we're pressing it into the side, getting all of the vegetable down in. Now if you're using your own beef stock, you would want to go ahead at this point remove the bones out of your strainer and or chinois. Another easy way of doing this is to use cheesecloth, and just put cheesecloth over the top of your bowl and pour the mixture over the top until it all completely comes out. This is the part we're actually not going to be using at this point. Go ahead and put that into our sink. And we're going to pour the resemblance back into the pot. And go ahead and cover. Put it back to about number 3. Bring it back up to a nice simmer. And then reduce the heat back down to 1. So now our reduction should be just about finished. And as you can see, it's now down at least 3/4 or more of the liquid has been reduced out of it. So we're just about set to this. We're just going to go ahead and put the top back on it. Once we're done serving the dinner with it tonight, we'll go ahead and freeze it so we can use it again.